He's back! Bobby Wagner is back as a Seattle Seahawk. The Seahawks have signed Bobby Wagner to a 1-year, $7 million contract. The legend of the Legion of Boom. One of the greatest linebackers of his generation. A future Hall of Famer. Yes, you should be excited. Number 54 is back for the Seattle Seahawks. And I believe he's going to elevate this defense. He's going to elevate it on the field and off the field. And quite honestly, Seahawks fans, you might not like to hear this, but Bobby Wagner played better in 2022 than he did in 2021 or 2020. I was critical of Bobby Wagner, not because I thought he was washed or he was no good as an older Seahawk player, but there was too much stress on him at his age to play as this rangy, athletic cover linebacker, do-it-all player. Okay, I'm going to play the run here. I'm going to cover tight ends, and I'm also going to cover the middle of the field with range and speed and athleticism the way I did at 26. I'm going to play at 30. And sometimes as linebackers, you just don't have the capacity. You don't have the wavelength in terms of your athleticism any longer. Last year, LA focused his role a little bit more. As you can see by his stats, most sacks of his career at 6 in 2022. The most interceptions of his career since 2017 with 2 picks. He was more of a playmaker. He wasn't as heavily leaned on as a cover linebacker. He was playing a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. He was using his instincts, his IQ, and his ability to read an offense to shoot the gap, make the stop in the run game, or shoot the gap, sack the quarterback, or used in games up front to be a pass rusher. And that's the thing that I marvel at when it comes to Bobby Wagner over the years. This has been one of the few linebackers in the modern NFL that's been able to do it all. From run defense, to coverage, to blitzing, everything. Bobby Wagner was a complete linebacker. Now, somebody like Jordan Brooks is more athletic, more gifted, moving around. But they're going to complement each other very well as they once did. I think Bobby Wagner may play once again a more reduced role. I don't think there's going to be as much pressure on him. But in a 1-year sample that they've signed him to, he can help elevate this defense from a getting set up, just making sure that everybody around him is on their P's and Q's, right? With their I's dotted and their T's crossed. Everything in terms of communication might flow through Bobby Wagner because he's that dude. He's that legend, and he's also that leader in terms of getting your defense there. And then on top of that, he's somebody that's really going to help run defense. He's still really good at stopping the run. He's got the strength, the power, and still the burst to make those plays downhill. Now, where he may struggle a little bit more than he used to is coverage and moving side to side. That's where we saw him drop off a little bit. Seattle, they were trending in a different direction last year. At least they thought. They moved on from Bobby Wagner. The Rams, the Super Bowl champs, another opportunity at a Super Bowl trophy. Bobby Wagner thought going there. And it was a slightly different defensive scheme where he didn't have to be as active as a cover linebacker in zone coverage, where athleticism really matters more so than, matching or playing man, as bigger linebackers can somewhat get away with that at times. But Bobby Wagner is going to elevate in communication. Bobby Wagner is going to elevate run defense, where they were very weak last year. Bobby Wagner is going to elevate leadership. Bobby Wagner is going to elevate, been there, done that, in terms of, this is a team in Seattle I believe is going to go to the playoffs, and I believe they're going to have an experience in the playoffs this year, and somebody like Bobby Wagner can lead a young defense into that game and get them hyped and get them ready to go. He can also help somebody like Devin Bush, who they've signed as maybe a low-cost option with high potential still that is untapped. It will be intriguing to see what happens with Devin Bush there in Seattle as a depth role. And then you also have Jordan Brooks coming back from injury. So Bobby Wagner coming in fills a massive need, but it also is a kind of a security blanket. You know, just making sure that Brooks is good to go. And Bobby Wagner maybe can take on more of that load or the snaps early in the season. And Brooks can start to take that over later in the season. And then they can play together more commonly when the big games and the big moments happen. But I wouldn't expect him to be in a bunch of sub defense unless they're blitzing him. But Seattle was actually really good with blitzing last year. And they got a lot of pressure from their second level. And they got a lot of pressure from blitzing. Now, I think they want to have more activity and more pressure from a four-man rush. But as we saw last year, they're very good at scheming up pressure. And a linebacker having 6 sacks the way Bobby Wagner did, that's pretty good. We've always known Bobby Wagner was an underrated blitzer. At least I knew that. But back when Seattle used to run a lot of their zone coverages, obviously you need your linebackers back in coverage, and there's not a lot of room to be creative with those players to rush them at the quarterback. Right? That's more of a Dante Hightower, New England Patriots style of defense where you're constantly bringing those linebackers. But I think that's going to be something that we see more of Bobby Wagner in Seattle. Less of him in coverage, more of him blitzing, more of him in pass rushing areas, and then also his presence in the run game. So I think this is a great move by Seattle. It's a legend of your team, your franchise, your fan base loves him. Obviously going to sell more tickets, but it's a guy that's going to help your team in the locker room, leadership, on defense, all of it. And it's a 1-year deal, $7 million, which is probably not 7 guaranteed, but it's a $7 million deal. And yeah, I love the move. I just love seeing players that are legends of their franchises going back home and having another run. Because I thought Bobby Wagner's days, once we saw him go to the Rams, they were over in Seattle. He's going to be 33 in 2023 this season. And we don't know how many years he has left. 1, 2, maybe 3 years at the most. So make the most of it. Seattle is in that window right now. I believe it starts now for them to make a push in the NFC. If they can hit on another draft, bring in another couple free agents over the next couple of years, this team's going to be right in the thick of things for that NFC West, for the NFC in general. Bobby Wagner can help them get there as well. He's still playing at a very high level defensively. Again, going through his stats, 140 tackles, 6 sacks, 5 passes defensed, 2 interceptions, which was the most of his career since 2017. In terms of his coverage statistics, he allowed a 68% completion percentage, an 87 passer rating, which was actually improved. His best passer rating allowed since he was 30 years old in 2020, right? So he didn't play nearly as many snaps in coverage last year, as you can see by Pro Football Reference, 48 targets compared to 87 the year before. So big difference with how he was utilized with the Rams. And I think Seattle probably saw that when they looked at what, the Rams did and said, oh, okay, this is how you're using Bobby now. Maybe we can implement that with our differences on defense and how we've changed our defense. And not to even mention, he was the number 1 graded linebacker in the NFL last year by PFF. I didn't even know that until I just checked. But yes, not Fred Warner, not Levante David, not Demario Davis. It was once again Bobby Wagner, who had the number 1 run defense grade in the NFL, who had a top pass rush grade, I want to say in the top 7, right there with guys like David Long, Matt Milano, Demario Davis, Jerome Baker. His coverage grade was, again, like I've been suggesting, not his best, but not bad either. I mean, 77.9, which is still quality. So across the board, 90.7 PFF grade is the best grade he's had since 2018, which was really his prime. So Bobby Wagner, man, I'm intrigued to see how he plays this year with Seattle. And I'm really pumped for Seahawks fans. I think this year I'm a big Seahawks fan. I like what your franchise is doing. I like what you're building, and I think he can help you get there with his leadership on and off the field. Let me know how pumped you are, Seahawks fans, to see a legend back on your team. Number 54 returns. It's Mitch. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, Gronk, spike the like button and subscribe for more Seahawks news just like this. Also for NFL content daily here on the BLV. Thanks for watching. Peace.